Hello and welcome to the Fort Knox podcast. I'm your host, Knox Fox. Thanks for tuning in. This is episode 1 and the first episode of my new podcast for the new year. It is 2025. Happy New Year, everyone. This is a podcast that's going to be about privacy and security online in a world where basically everyone is looking and building profiles on you, no matter where you go online. And the goal of this is to help people get aware of that, like if they're not like fully aware of how much of your data is collected and sold online, and how to like take back a bit of your privacy, and also some security best practices out there, because there's lots of data breaches and all that nowadays online. And I would love to be like a voice that helps people like get more knowledge and be aware of what's happening out there on the internet, and like how they can reclaim some of their privacy back and be more secure in a world where everyone's trying to build a data profile on you. Everyone's trying to steal your credit card information or whatever you put out there. It really is the wild, wild west online. So I hope I can help people with this podcast. So yeah, but before we get into this episode, and this episode is mostly going to be a brief explanation of what I want to bring to this podcast, what my listeners and what you honestly can gain from this. So what can I do for you with this podcast as well? It's just like a bit about my privacy and security journey, like where I started even realized like, wow, I really want to be more careful with what I put out on there online. Just like how we are careful every day with what we put out there for the general public. Like everyone kind of almost puts on a mask. And I wouldn't say a mask, but like there's parts of us that we show when we're out to our coworkers that we wouldn't show or we wouldn't act the same when we're with our closest friends, when you're with your family versus coworkers or just acquaintances. Like everyone in a way has their own masks or what they show. And that's something that I feel like you should be able to carry through with online very much. But there's a lot of trackers and a lot of things out there that people aren't even maybe fully aware of, though I feel like not a lot of people honestly care when it comes to privacy. And if I can educate and maybe have people realize, wow, like I want to step back and like be more careful with what I post online, then and I think I've done a lot. Before we get into that, though, I did want to say that I actually do have a chat room on the Matrix protocol that I'm going to be putting in the show notes. I would love listeners in this community to like hop on and like tell me what you do in your personal life, what you use software wise or whatever. Maybe there's something that you use different from what I mention in my shows when I'm going to be going over things like password managers or security keys or just different things that we could talk about. There's lots of different episodes that are going to be coming up and lots of different things that we could be discussing. But maybe obviously everyone has choice in what they use. Like maybe I use Proton Pass or Bitwarden, and you're like more about that local stuff where you use KeePass, which is a local password manager. For those that don't know these terms, we'll be going into like these softwares probably in a later episode where I do one about password managers. I've tried a few. I remember my first one I started on Dashlane, and I went with Locals, and I've tried a bunch of different ones. And I think that's also why I kind of want to be a voice for this kind of stuff, because that way I can like give my feedback on why I left a platform and why I chose another one over the last one that I was on. But yeah, so I have a Matrix channel, a room that I made recently, and since this is episode 1, I'm hoping that we can slowly build up a community in there. I'm going to be putting in the show notes. I would love for you to join. Let me know, hey, like what do you do with your own like threat model, security model online? What softwares you prefer? You know, it would be cool. And maybe there's stuff that I can learn, because there's still stuff that I want to do more, like having a home server. Like I want to build a home server with like maybe like Next Nextcloud or something, is it? I can't remember the name of the software. I'd have to look into it again, but I know there's some stuff that I want to do like with Docker that I'm still like dabbling in. So I would love to like build a community in there, hear your guys' stuff and what you do, and maybe learn from that, which would be awesome. I'm also going to be eventually making a SimpleX chat room for this. Maybe in the next episode, I will put that in the show notes as well. I'm not fully on board with SimpleX over like the Signal protocol, but I'm down to try it. I'm kind of curious, but I still think Signal is like the best when it comes to like chat apps, and I use that like constantly. But anyway, I'm mentioning a lot of different brands, a lot of different things. Let's not get too deep into that because this is just like going to be a brief summary of what to expect in this and what you'll get out of this. How I even got started in this journey. And then in the later episodes, we'll go into the one where it's all about password managers and the one where it's all about, chat apps and stuff like that. So I definitely want to make a lot of these, and hopefully this podcast will do pretty well. It's definitely like a hobby of mine. And for those that are just starting out here, the reason I want to do a podcast is I actually, it goes back into my background. I don't currently work in the field, but I did go to schooling for radio broadcast, which is funny because there's advertising in that, and they have a lot of data on their viewers and their listeners there. So I remember working there, and they spent millions upon millions to collect data on who listens to their shows. And that's exactly what this podcast is about, how to protect yourself from that kind of stuff. But for them, I do see the value. I do see why they do that. For them, it builds like a brochure for advertisers. Oh, these are the type of people that listen to our station. These are the type of people that listen at this demographic. So you know what to sell them and what's going to be like the easiest kind of ads to, or the best, most worth your money kind of ads to play on the station. And funny enough, like most stations cater to women because women make the buying, they have the buying power in most families, according to, I don't know, whoever did that research. But that was something I remember hearing all the time when I worked in radio. It's like, this is the bread and the bread and butter. This is what you need if you want like a lot of money in a radio station. But anyway, we're gonna get away from radio, but that's just kind of like my background. And podcasting, it just feels kind of like that, which is nice. Obviously, there's going to be less music. We're not really going, we're going to the next song. It's more about those talk segments and possibly like interviews. I would love to be doing interviews and stuff in the future, and getting like-minded individuals, maybe someone that's made a software that helps privacy-minded people, because there's plenty of good softwares out there that it would be really interesting to like dive into, though I know there's been plenty of interviews and stuff with like the Graphene OS makers, or like Proton. They've been on a few programs and they've discussed like their mail suite, calendar suite. They have so much stuff, Proton, but they also have competitors that we can talk about too, like Tutanota. So there's definitely a lot of stuff that I would love to bring to the show, and hopefully some of my skills from the radio broadcasting days will transfer over. I definitely would love to hear you guys' feedback on what you think of the show in that Matrix channel that I talked about. But yeah, I hope everyone had a good year, New Year, or start to New Year. It is the 5th of January, 2025 when I'm making this. And I'm definitely so excited to be making a podcast for you guys, especially something that I'm passionate about. I don't know. It's easier to like do a podcast on it because I don't know, when you talk about it in like person, you immediately get, and I'm sure you guys have heard this if you were like have discussed this in the real world, or like face to face, I guess I should say, and that's you start to discuss this and people just like discount it off, brush it off, and it's like, oh well, I have nothing to hide, and Oh my God. That argument is so triggering every time you hear it. I don't know, like I don't easily get upset, but like that to me is like such a stupid argument in my opinion. And the main reason I think it is that same person would not hand me their phone unlocked and let me go through whatever I want. Like we put passwords on our phones because there are things in our lives that we want to keep personal. Obviously, it's for security as well with like your banking, because we do online banking and all that. It's a reason why encryption is good, because with encryption you can safely on your phone do your mobile banking. You can do like whatever, like we have our phones password locked for a reason. I'm sure some people have the most intimate conversations that they do not want on blast. They would not post their word for word conversations on their Facebook wall for people to read. So why would you discount privacy? Everyone has an amount of expected privacy. Now, like you don't have to go tinfoil hat levels, like where you're going to go to a cabin in the woods and disconnected from the internet. There is like regular amounts of like privacy and stuff that you can have online without being full tinfoil hat. But I have always hated that argument. Why are our houses not completely made out of glass so that anyone can look in at any time? Is because people have an expected level of privacy in their own homes. There's one quote that I really loved from a whistleblower that I'm sure a few people know, and that is saying that we don't want privacy is like saying that we don't care about our freedom of speech because we have nothing to say. Like, so if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. Well, you have nothing to say, so you don't care about your freedom of speech, and that's like something that I really resonate with. I think it's crazy to say that everything's an open book, because I don't think there is one person I know that is completely an open book. Like everyone has their expected level of privacy, and I hate that argument. Anyway, I'm going to go on that for way too long, but I figured I'd mention it because like that is the one thing that I kind of want to do with the podcast, is bring like education about different platforms with people, and maybe then people will see like, hey, you know, actually I do have stuff that I want to keep more personal to myself. I'm not an open book. I don't want the world to know what me and my girlfriend talk about. I don't, you know, like we all have our expected level of privacy, and that's why like encryption and all that is so good, and encryption platforms like Signal, where you can chat and know that there is no one that can see that besides the person on the other end, and that's such a great tool. And I do really like that Signal has become a bit more mainstream than it used to be. Once in a while when I'm on there, I'm like, oh wow, I did not know this person it was on it. I normally don't actually share my contacts with Signal, but I remember I did recently once, and the amount of people I saw is way more than when it was a smaller thing, like when I first got into like my privacy online. Like now it's interesting to see that more and more people are using like privacy respecting apps. Now, like there's still the main ones that I don't use that I know a lot more people use, which is like WhatsApp, which is owned by Meta, or Facebook for those that don't know. But Meta is basically their parent company. They own WhatsApp, or they bought that out. And that one I don't want to use, because I still know that Meta as a company is very much about data harvesting, and even though they use like some end-to-end encryption in their stuff, they still very heavily, I believe, use metadata collection on their app. I'm positive I remember seeing that, but I don't trust that company, just because Facebook is very much about harvesting as much as they can, and I don't like using their platforms if I don't have to. So it's cool, and I hope by bringing this podcast out there, maybe I'll get some more people on Signal or Matrix or some of the other platforms that are more security minded. Just like having people use RCS texting or iMessage, even though they're not like open source. You know, you don't really know how protected everything is. it's still better than say like SMS. And I bring that up because of what was actually released in the US recently. This is by one of their agencies. It was hold on, I just got to scroll over here. It was the CISA. This is a US document that was released not too long ago, and it was their cybersecurity infrastructure security agency, and they made like a bullet point checklist of like best practices to do. And the reason they released this is just because I guess SMS, which is definitely not a secure protocol, texting, just regular texting, SMS and MMS, all that, I guess was a backdoor that was put in place for them was being used by another government agency. I won't say which one. I'm pretty sure I know, but oh yeah, it was the Republic of China. It says right here. So they were doing some stuff with like a backdoor that was made for the government, and because of that, they put out this paper of like things to do that will protect your privacy and like stop that. This was released December 18th, 2024. So it's pretty recent. Like this is just before Christmas and we're just starting 2025. And like, I love that the first bullet point, the first thing that they put was use Signal. So that just shows if the government knows that this is like a trustworthy thing and all that. Now I'm from Canada, like I'm not from the US, but I saw this in the privacy world. This document is huge. It's like showing, wow, like this is like really good. So that was like the first bullet point, is to make sure that you're using things like Signal, where it's end-to-end encrypted, sorry. So that like your chats are like safe and not read. This is something that I'm going to save for another episode, but they go into things like using FIDO keys or like security keys, using migrating away from like SMS, MFA. So like getting a text message sent to you with like your 2FA code, which I can't believe how many companies, even banks, still use that. Like up here in Canada, I have a few banks and they're doing that still. And it's like, there's way better things. Like even TOTP is better. Like time-based codes is better, because I can still put those on my security key. And I prefer that over like getting texted, because like texting is like social engineering, social hacking can be used to get your SIM card put onto someone else's, an attacker's device, and then trying to sort that whole mess out. That just sounds awful. I don't know. Like honestly, our telecommunication companies should have like a better, more clear way to prove who you are, who you say you are, so that like when they change your SIM over, you can't just have someone like, oh, swipe, I'm this person now. Don't even know how that ever came to be, but social hacking is definitely a thing. And I think when I watched a thing on social hacking, it only takes like 6 calls to have all your security questions usually, because they'll just have to call the same provider over and over and over. Like, oh, I forgot what this is. I forgot what this is. And until they have all the pieces of the puzzle, once they have enough that they can unlock your account, that's it. So kind of crazy, like when it comes to like, you know, not all forms of hacking, I guess, are like what you see in the TV shows where it's all like Matrix in a terminal. Like, you know, sometimes it's as simple as just picking up a phone or an IP phone or something and making 6 phone calls, and there you go, you got someone's SIM card. So it's definitely like good to like have a more hardened security out there, and that's something that hopefully more people will do, because I feel like people they take for granted their what they have and all that, and until it's gone. Like even with like saying credit card fraud, like it happened to me once actually. I was using a parking meter, and I guess the parking meter was compromised, and I remember it so well because I got the notification. I'm pretty crazy when it comes to my banking. When I get every single transaction, I get a push notification to my phone, because that's how I feel most safe with it. Plus it's for my budgeting. If I get that push notification, I quickly put in my budget. I do manual budgeting because I want to make sure I feel a pain when I spend money, because otherwise you're gonna overspend. But that's like a different thing. It turns out it worked for me for like my security model, because I use that parking meter, and within 30 minutes, a province like away from me, like I saw a purchase, like, and it would be impossible to travel to this place within 30 minutes and go to McDonald's. I had the person who took my credit card number from this meter, I guess they skimmed it, or I don't know how the whole thing went, but I don't know. Basically, the investigation they told me it was that meter, and this person was super far away, and they bought $300 worth of McDonald's. Now, I don't know what you're doing with $300 worth of McDonald's. That is so much McDonald's. Like, I don't know who needs that in their right mind. But yeah, that's when I kind of was like, wow, I'm glad that I get these notifications for every single transaction, and I'm not like someone that waits until I get my statement, because who knows what else they could have rung up. I made the call right away, got my number changed, had a card shipped to me, and I stopped it right there. But the fact that now, like, I'm a bit paranoid when I use my card in public. I try to always like check if there's a skimmer device on especially like gas pumps, or like even like in stores. It's so easy, like criminals or like people that do that, they have gotten it down to a science, replicating these pin pad devices and sliding it over. Like it's crazy how much like the real thing they look like. And now that I'm aware, because I had that incident, I had the $300 purchase to McDonald's, which, you know, I hoped McDonald's was good. But now I know, and I check every time I use a machine to make sure that the machine is not like compromised, or I try my best to check. I look for like the hologram stickers, that they aren't torn and all that stuff, or that I can't wiggle it off. So this is just things that, because I had it happen to me, I'm more aware, and that's kind of what I want from this podcast. I'm hoping that people will be more aware of what they can do, what is like being like used, or like what is being looked at, and how can you protect yourself better. Or do I really need to put this information into this website? Like, how can I get away with putting the least out there possible, so that you're at less of a risk? And that's kind of what this podcast is about. And I really hope that I can grow a community of like-minded individuals, and like it's just something that I'm passionate about. I think obviously it's not for everyone. Not everyone is into this kind of stuff. Some people just want to go with the flow, and you know, that's their choice. But I think that it's definitely good to have the ability to protect your privacy. So that's kind of like my journey of how I got to here, my background in radio. So that's kind of why I'm like wanting to do podcasting, because I'm pretty passionate about this kind of stuff, just audio in general, and like and privacy and security online. We are in an ever changing like internet, changes all the time. There's so much, like even internet like 10 years ago compared to like now, it's crazy. Like things are just getting better. Like back in like well, I don't know, like 10 20 years ago, I guess, like when I was like young, man, the internet was more in its infancy for me. And I just remember doing like game websites and like, oh my God, Addicting Games or Crazy Monkey Games or Cool Math, or heck, you know, like all those. And web pages look so different, but now web pages are like, they're much prettier. They're loaded with like JavaScript and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, there's more vulnerabilities out there. So we definitely have to be careful with what we do online. That's basically my brief introduction of this podcast. I hope you guys like the start of it. I'm going to be having my episodes hopefully monthly. That's what I'm going to go for. And then I might up it from there. I just got to see how frequent I can get these out. I want to put a lot of research into episodes, because I want to But next episode, when we like target a specific topic, I might just do like password managers or like mail services or stuff like that. I want to start with kind of like the things that everyone can use and then slowly go away into like more niche things. I would definitely want to do some on Graphene OS. That's like a really good fork of like Android that like it basically, you can't even tell that I'm not using Android. It is so good. Like, and it's so easy to install compared to like Lineage when I first did I think, what is this, Samsung S3? It was a long time ago when I was using Lineage, but custom ROMs and a lot. So there's lots that I want to talk about. And I want to make sure I do lots of research and get you guys the best stuff possible. This one was kind of like my brief overview, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you guys in the next one. And have yourself a good new year. Enjoy your January, guys. This has been the Fort Knox podcast. Check the show notes to make sure that you can join our Matrix channel. And I'm looking forward to having you guys with me. Have a good one, guys.